Job hopping. Is it good or bad? Let's find out. I'm Jenn Swanson, your career coach, and I want to thank a viewer named Mohib for this question, which was how and why choosing the right company and sticking with it for long term gives us more benefits than job hopping on a regular basis. So it's a great question. I'm not sure that sticking to a job long term is always the right answer, but let's find out. So first of all, what is job hopping? Well, it means going from job to job to job and not picking one and sticking with it for a long period of time. But here's the thing. The stage of your life that you are in makes a big difference, as does how long you actually stick at a job before you hop off. And so we're going to talk about that. Let me explain. If you are in your 20s, lots of jobs on your resume is just fine. Honestly. Now, it looks better if the jobs that are on your resume are jobs that you've stayed at for at least a year. 2 years would be better. 3 years, no problem at all. But honestly, some jobs that you get when you're first starting out are not great jobs. Some of them are quite awful. Some of them also might be short-term internships, a 10-month internship or something, and they end. So you have to hop off and find something else. So it completely depends on the stage of life that you are in, and again, the length you stay in a particular job. Your 20s can be a time of figuring things out and following a path until you decide, yes, I want to stay on this path, or this path isn't quite for me. I'm going to go back and find a different path and try it for a while. So that is the stage of life where you are figuring things out and exploring and discovering to see what it is that you want to do. Now, if you are in your 30s or 40s or 50s or 60s, no hiring manager is going to want to see multiple jobs and see that you've been hopping out every 6 or 8 months to find something different, because it looks bad. It looks like you can't stick with anything. It looks like you have commitment issues. It looks like you maybe are not worthy of being a long-time stable employee. It just doesn't look good. You have one on there, you can adjust for that, you can explain it. Maybe it was a toxic work environment, maybe it was a horrible place, maybe you got in there and thought, I just can't do this. The commute was too far, there was a bully. I mean, there are lots of reasons why you should not stay at a job, even if you've only been there for a short amount of time. One of those on a resume you can explain, but more than that, really, really difficult to explain your way out of that on a resume when you're in your 30s and above. By the time you're in your 30s and above, you're supposed to have figured out what path you're on. Now, I don't know who makes these rules, because sometimes I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, right? So I don't know who makes these rules, but that is they have decided. The general consensus is that you should have figured something out by the time you get into your 30s. However, job hopping after 2 or 3 years in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, especially when it's something that moves you in a trajectory that is an upward move, so up the ladder, you're advancing to new and more exciting opportunities. You are clearly gaining as you change positions. That actually looks really good on a resume. That is strategic advancement and promotion. That kind of movement is not going to raise any red flags if you've stayed somewhere at least 2 years or 3 years. And it is actually going to look like you have strategy, you have initiative, you are motivated to move on and to gain skills. There is nothing wrong with job hopping in that way, in that stage of life. And you can do that in your 20s too. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with staying for a couple of years and making those strategic moves. The thing is, if you have stayed for at least 2 years, you've committed to something, and you will have learned. You will have learned skills. Careers nowadays are less about what title you've earned and more about the skills that you bring to a new role. So if you have, and the things that you have accomplished. So if you have accomplished a number of things, you have a lot of skills behind you because you've dealt with this kind of company and you stayed there for 2 or 3 years or 4 years or whatever, and then you've moved to the next job. You bring all of that with you. You bring everything with you all the way along, but it looks good because you're acquiring skills and experience that you can then bring to the next organization and move on up. Top performers do this. You will see high-level successful people who are in roles in companies for 2, 3, 4, 5 years and then make a move. And there's nothing wrong with that. It could be that they've been headhunted. It could be that they've been waiting for that peach of a job that they've got their eye on in a particular company, and it finally opens up. It could be that they would always have wanted to live in a particular part of the country and a position opened up over there, and so they make their move to where they actually want to live. There are lots of reasons why job hopping strategically is a good thing in your career. And to get back to Mohib's question, job hopping at all is completely unnecessary if you have found a company and a position that you like, and here's the biggest key, that gives you purpose. Burnout happens, by the way, not mainly because you are overworked or stressed, but because of lack of purpose. If what you are doing is not meaningful to you, if you don't like what you're doing or you don't see any point in it, then you are in grave danger of burning out. So please don't stay in a position in a company out of some false sense of loyalty if you can at all help it. If you are feeling like there's no point to what you're doing, no purpose. Figuring out what matters to you in life, what you want to contribute, what means something to you in a career is important. And if that is not what is happening for you where you are, then you might need to hop on. Hop onward. If you need help with that, visit my coaching page, which is linked below, because that's what I do in my coaching practice. I help people sort out what it is that they want to do, what they don't want to do, and where they might go next. So check that out down below. So answering this question, is job hopping good or bad? Number one, it depends on your stage of life. Number two, it depends on how long you stay in a position before you hop to another one. And number three, it depends on why you are job hopping in the first place. It can be the worst thing that you can do on your resume, and it may make getting a job difficult if you're doing it short term, you're doing it a lot, and you're doing it for no good reason other than maybe you're bored. And if it's an avoidance tactic, that's no good. But it can be extremely useful if you are using it strategically, if you are hopping after an okay length of time, at least 2 years, if it's done right, and it can get you to where you want to go a lot faster if you do it with purpose. Let me know why or why you have not job hopped down in the description below. Like and subscribe if you have gotten value out of this. And next I'm going to send you to a video on how to answer the question, what are you passionate about? And how to answer it if you don't know what you are passionate about quite yet. I will see you over there.